communist empire as we know it, and I happen to remember the 4th of June 1989, not on, from my own experience here in Poland. We had obviously a sort of spring of democracy, but we know, or we knew at the moment what is happening in China. That this is an empire of lies. This is a coercion power that wants you to follow them and doesn't want you to object. Yet you are in your art praising the idea that individual can stand up towards the power and say, I will not let that happen. Is that something coming from your own experiences?
Well, I think it's always important that we know this propaganda, especially from the communist regime. They want to eliminate the confidence from any individual. They want to tell you that you are insignificant compared with the national machine. And in order to protect yourself, you better behave yourself and be silent. This is their way to control the society, but it's not necessarily representing the truth. That through the history of the world, we see how individuals can actually start and perform social changes again and again and again. And in fact, just last December, there are an entire younger generation brave enough to march on the street again, like those students in 1989. And this time, they're there to demanding the end of the so-called zero COVID policy lockdown. But among this campaign, the requirements from the people are not just about some social or health public management. We also hear the slogan from the protests saying, CCP stepping down, Xi Jinping stepping down. So I do think, you know, for the younger generation, the things is changing. The people knowing that enough is enough. This regime is not sustainable. It's not healthy. It's not successful at all.
Right, but you devoted your art to many things to the issues that were or still are important in the memory of the world, or they are forgotten, like for example the like for example the Tibet and taken over by China, repopulating this area when the real Tibetans are now minority, and I don't know if they are allowed to speak their own language. And this is something totally obscure. The world doesn't know or doesn't care or doesn't want to know about that. So that's kind of tough.
Well, it is indeed. Like, we're witnessing the tragedy that happened to the Chinese people. But probably what has been worse happening is to the native or minority groups, like the Tibetans, like the Uyghurs in East Turkestan or Xinjiang. All of their lives are seemed insignificant, actually, to a lot of Western countries. You know, in Germany, Volkswagen was having factories in Xinjiang, regardless of the concentration camps, torturing more than 1 million Uyghurs.
But as you know about Germany, they have tradition to have such a factories in prison camps.
Well, obviously, they didn't really reflect the history as they try to convince the world. And it's not just Germany. When we talk about America, about other European countries, a lot of corporations are exploring the low human rights record in China in order to getting short-term economic benefits. Yes, in a short term, a lot of people get rich, and they want to get back to the Chinese market, regardless all those tragedies has happened. But to what point did the world have to understand this is not sustainable, and in the longer term, you're only feeding the monster grow bigger and bigger. And in the end of the day, now China become a threat, not just to the people who live inside of China, but also around it, far away from it, here in Europe, in Taiwan, Australia, America.